Would you chase a dream even if it seems out of reach, or accept a safe path that's unfulfilling? The gallery buzzed with hushed anticipation, golden beams of late afternoon sunlight slanting through tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished wooden floor. Ethan stood at the edge of the crowded room, heart pounding against his ribs, palms slick with sweat. His latest collection, the product of countless nights spent wrestling with brush and canvas, hung on the walls like fragile monuments to hope. But the atmosphere around him felt brittle, like the calm before a storm. A low murmur rippled through the gathered critics and patrons, glances flitting impatiently from one painting to another. The gallery owner, a lean man with hawkish eyes and a perpetual sneer, lingered by the entrance, his stance rigid and disapproving. Liam caught snippets of conversation, the words cutting through his fragile confidence. Predictable, lacking spark, market unworthy. Then, the unthinkable happened. His work was pointedly bypassed in favor of flashier, more commercial pieces, canvases bright with garish colors and familiar pandering themes. The gallery owner's voice rang out, cold and unimpressed. "These are the works we'll promote. Liam's creations. They're simply not what the buyers want." Heat blazed behind Liam's eyes as an unbearable sting filled his cheeks. Time fractured. Every heartbeat thundered loudly in his ears while the crowd seemed to fade into indistinct shapes. His mentor's old dog, collar-worn and fraying, resting heavy around Max's neck, was the sole tether to a world where loyalty hadn't betrayed him yet. Max, ever faithful, stood quietly by, eyes steady and unjudging. Liam's gaze dropped to his hands, smeared with dried paint, trembling ever so slightly. The broken paintbrush lying neglected at his feet was a cruel symbol of his creative block and the rejection that loomed so ominously. "I'll find my audience," he whispered, jaw clenched, voice barely carrying beyond the tight knot in his throat. But the room offered no comfort, only the echo of doors closing gently but definitively on his dreams. He slipped past the murmuring crowd, a silhouette swallowed by the fading light of dusk spilling into the gallery's darkened corners. Outside, the cobblestone streets glistened from a recent rain, mist curling around vintage lampposts, wrapping the town in a cool, foggy embrace that mirrored the haze settling within Liam. Max's paws softly thudded beside him, a loyal heartbeat grounding the swirling storm of his doubt. The old canvas in Liam's satchel, its surface cracked and worn by time, pressed close to his chest, a reminder of forgotten dreams and possibilities waiting, just beyond the horizon. As the street lamps flickered on, one by one, casting pools of hesitant light, Liam paused, the night air crisp against his skin. Somewhere, in the distance, a dog barked a sharp, solitary sound, breaking the delicate silence. He swallowed hard, the taste of bittersweet resolve on his tongue, and for the briefest moment, the world seemed suspended, caught between the despair of rejection and the fragile flicker of a new beginning. The gallery doors closed behind Liam with a soft thud that reverberated in the hollowness swelling inside his chest. The dull, fading sunlight filtered through the thin, aged curtains of his cramped studio apartment, casting long, warm streaks on the worn wooden floorboards. Liam sank onto the threadbare couch, the fabric prickling against his paint-stained jeans. The silence was suffocating, punctuated only by the gentle panting of Max, his loyal dog, curled silently at his feet. Max's amber eyes mirrored a steadfast loyalty that made the loneliness in Liam's heart all the more acute. His fingers traced the familiar grooves stained by endless paintings, now broken and discarded, their splintered wood a painful echo of his fractured confidence. The broken paintbrush lying on the rickety table became a cruel metaphor. The sharp, jagged edges mirrored the creative block tightening its grip on his soul. Liam's eyes, once vibrant with youthful hope, were now clouded with doubt and exhaustion. He stared blankly at the half-finished canvas leaning against the wall, its colors dulled and its forms blurred by uncertainty. The charisma that had once breathed life into his art seemed to have seeped away under the weight of rejection. The harsh words and cold dismissals from the gallery owner echoed relentlessly in his mind, gnawing at the foundations of his passion. Max shifted slightly, a soft nudge against Liam's hand, a quiet insistence that stirred a flicker amid the shadows. Liam looked down into the dog's unwavering gaze, a silent conversation passing between them, filled with unspoken understanding and steadfast hope. It was a reminder of loyalty unblemished by disappointment, a beacon in the suffocating fog of his self-doubt. The room carried the faint scent of oil paint and turpentine, a fragrance that once sparked joy but now mingled with the metallic taste of frustration and loss. Liam's breath caught as he slowly rose, moving towards the attic door, his heart a rhythm of hesitation and desperate yearning. Max's tail wagged faintly behind him, an anchor against the storm. The attic was cloaked in dust and shadows, skeins of light wove through gaps in the old wooden shutters. Hidden amidst forgotten boxes and tattered drapes, Liam's fingers brushed against the cool surface of something masked by time and old, neglected canvas. The edges were worn and frayed, dust clinging to its surface like memories long forgotten. A sudden pulse of curiosity sparked, igniting a fragile flame that flickered against the murky cloak of despair. Pulling the canvas gently into the light, Liam could just make out the soft outlines of a painting he never remembered seeing before, paw prints smeared across the raw canvas, an enigmatic pattern that stirred in him a silent call to discovery. Max's ears perked, his nose twitching at the sudden shift in the air. Together, man and dog stood on the precipice of a new journey, shadows of doubt lingering but no longer overpowering. The attic, once a prison of forgotten dreams, had become a clandestine gallery of possibilities. Outside, dusk deepened the blue hues of nightfall, wrapping the town in its soothing embrace. Liam's breath slowed as determination replaced defeat in his eyes, a subtle but unshakable shift. The old canvas was no longer a relic of loss, it was a beacon beckoning him forward. As the final amber light seeped through the attic window, Liam clutched the painting close, his silhouette etched against the growing darkness, a figure poised between the fading echoes of failure and the tentative glimmer of hope. The attic was a world suspended in time, a cavernous refuge layered thick with dust motes dancing in the feeble glow of a single hanging bulb. Liam's boots scuffed the creaking wooden floorboards as he climbed through the narrow hatch, Max padding silently beside him, the dog collar snug against his neck, a constant symbol of unwavering loyalty and companionship. The stale air hung heavy with memories, old canvas remnants leaning against sagging walls, forgotten tools strewn about, and the faint scent of turpentine and old wood filling the cramped space. Among the detritus, Max halted, ears perked, nose twitching. His paws tapped against something partially concealed beneath a rotten tarp folded carelessly in a darkened corner. Liam squinted through the gloom, drawing closer as Max nudged at the heavy cloth until it slipped free, revealing the edges of a large, yellowed canvas. The ephemeral light caressed the aged surface, faded but intact, revealing a mysterious painting he had never seen. The canvas was speckled with paw prints, raw and unyielding against swirls of color faded by time. It was a forgotten dream, a fragment of a story that had eluded him until now. His breath hitched, chest tightening not with despair, but with a flicker of buried curiosity and fragile hope. The broken paintbrushes stacked nearby on a dusty crate suddenly seemed less like symbols of creative failure and more like tools awaiting revival, promises waiting to be reclaimed. Max's soft growl was not of warning but encouragement, a gentle reminder of presence in the solitary space. Liam reached down and rubbed behind Max's ears, feeling the warmth, the gravity of a loyal bond grounding his swirling thoughts. The paw prints, an enigma wrapped in layers of faded memories, gnawed at Liam's mind, whispering of a hidden narrative intertwined with his own. The old attic transformed into a secret gallery, where each brushstroke and imprint was a page torn from an untold story, waiting for him to decode its meaning. Outside, the setting sun bathed the village in a golden hue, its amber fingers stretching through creaky windowpanes and casting long shadows. The warmth seeped tentatively into the attic's dusty stillness, mingling with the cold breath of forgotten histories. Liam pressed his palm gently against the fragile canvas, feeling a connection as intimate as the pulse of his own heartbeat. In that silent communion, the veil of disappointment lifted just enough to reveal the faintest glimmer of possibility, a fragile compass pointing toward reclamation, discovery, and perhaps redemption. He stood slowly, Max by his side, heart beating out a new rhythm, less of fear and withdrawal, more of quiet defiance. The old painting was no longer a relic of forgotten dreams. It was a beacon, a first step into a journey that might mend the fractures left by rejection. The attic door creaked softly as Liam descended, the shadows retreating ever so slightly. Below, the town illuminated under the soft glow of streetlights seemed less indifferent, more alive with untold stories waiting to be unveiled. As dusk deepened into night, Liam paused at the bottom of the stairwell. A solitary paw print smudged on the dusty windowsill caught the last light, a muted emblem of loyalty, hope, and a destiny reborn. Tenderly, he traced it, his lips parting in a whispered vow. This is just the beginning. With a tentative yet resolute step forward, he vanished into the cool night air, Max's steady strides echoing a promise that they would navigate the wilderness of forgotten truths together. The attic shadows, and the forgotten paw prints became the prologue to a story larger than defeat, a tale of courage, rediscovered passion, and a bond strong enough to outshine even the deepest shadows. The attic's stale air wrapped around Liam like a thick shroud as he knelt beside the forgotten canvas, Max's quiet breathing the only counterpoint to his own ragged pulse. Dust particles floated sluggishly in the fading light spilling through the attic's lone window, each mote a suspended testament to time long lost. Liam's fingers trembled slightly as he touched the surface of the painting, his eyes tracing the strange paw prints that smudged the colors in irregular but unmistakable patterns. Outside, the wind whispered through the aged chimneys of the small town, carrying with it the scent of rain and the muted chorus of distant church bells. The world seemed poised on a threshold, caught between the weight of unspoken histories and the fragile promise of revelation. Liam crouched deeper, his breath shallow, the emotional chill of the day melting slowly into a cautious warmth. Max shifted beside him, nudging his hand with an insistence born of steadfast companionship. The dog collar, worn but unmistakable, clinked softly, a metallic jangling that pierced the silence with a note of loyalty and unyielding presence. With a shaky inhalation, Liam began extracting small fragments of fabric, notes, and surface textures around the canvas edge, a meticulous dance of discovery that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Each clue whispered a possibility. The paw prints weren't just random marks but perhaps a key to something, an unsolved mystery entangled deep within the town's history and perhaps into the very heart of his own story. His mind raced, shadows mingling with illumination. The stale air tasted faintly of turpentine and forgotten dreams. The broken paintbrush from the workroom's silent and abandoned seemed to pulse metaphorically beneath his restless fingers, signaling the presence of creative blocks yet to be dismantled. Liam stood abruptly, stretching aching muscles, his thoughts torn between the thrill of newfound purpose and the fear of the unknown. Through the cracked attic window, the sky brooded in slate gray, clouds shuttling thickly, threatening rain but yet holding back attention, mirroring the fragile threads of hope and doubt threading through Liam's heart. He stared down at Max, eyes steady, reflecting a spark of defiant courage. "We're onto something, yeah?" he murmured, a quiet resolve winding itself through his voice like a whispered secret. Max's tail thumped the wooden floor, a solemn hammering of encouragement. Descending from the attic, Liam's feet echoed softly through the empty house halls, a rhythmic promise of movement forward. His gaze caught the broken paintbrush again, gleaming faintly where a shaft of light caught its worn surface. It was a symbol of frustration, but also of potential, a reminder that even the broken could be mended, even shattered creativity could find new life. Outside, the first raindrops fell, light and intermittent, pattering rhythmically against the old roof and stirring the scent of wet earth and renewal. The town seemed to breathe anew beneath the peeling clouds, wrapped in mystery and shrouded promise. Liam wrapped his jacket tighter, feeling the electric pulse of possibility bloom amid lingering shadows. The canvas cradled secrets, the paw prints guided destinies, and the journey ahead pulsed with uncertain hope. A distant whistle of train horn split the night's growing murmuran evocative call signaling movement, departure, and arrival. Liam paused at the threshold, the rain soaking into his sleeves, the thrill and fear of pursuit locked in his eyes. The attic's mystery was only the beginning. And as the night wrapped the town in its dark embrace, Liam and Max faced the unfolding path, not yet knowing where it would lead, but resolved to walk it together. The air inside the cramped studio was thick, charged with a tension that refused to dissipate even as night deepened outside the fog-wrapped windows. Liam sat hunched over his notebook, amber lamplight spilling onto pages scrawled with tentative sketches and frantic notes, lines and paw prints merging like an encoded language only he sought to decipher. Max lay curled by his side, ears alert, as if sensing the turbulence building within his companion. Earlier that day at the gallery, the collision of hope and harsh reality had left scars deeper than the eye could see. The gallery owner's frosty smile and veiled dismissals had pierced Liam's fragile confidence like shards of glass. His efforts to share the discovery, the paw print patterns woven into the forgotten canvas, were met with indifference and thinly veiled hostility. Whispers behind closed doors and glances laden with skepticism gnawed at him relentlessly. Adding to the strain, a subtle sabotage awaited on the horizon. The gallery owner, shrouded in cynicism and threatened by Liam's unexpected tenacity, was quietly undermining his work. Rumors began to circulate, whispers twisted into poison. Was Liam truly unraveling a mystery, or chasing shadows born of desperation? The seeds of doubt, sown with calculated care, began to sprout among Liam's scarce allies. His phone buzzed incessantly, messages from critics and opportunists blending noise with cautionary news. One text, brief but chillingly pointed, read, "Beware where you dig, Liam. Some truths cost more than you're prepared to pay." The warning echoed in his mind as deeply as the gallery's cold rejection. Liam pressed his fists against his temples, a storm of anxiety and defiance raging beneath his scruffy exterior. Max nudged his hand with quiet insistency, a reminder of loyal companionship in the murk of uncertainty. Later, beneath the hollow glow of streetlights, Liam ventured to a dusty local archive, the weight of fading history pressing hungrily against its ancient walls. The whispered rustle of papers and the scratch of pen on brittle pages narrated a tapestry of forgotten lives and buried secrets. Vacationing patrons milled nearby, their voices a muted backdrop to Liam's concentrated quest. Among the brittle tomes, he uncovered fragments, old news clippings, legal documents, grainy photographs, each a puzzle piece sharpening the silhouette of the mystery entwined with the paw prints, with the forgotten canvas. Yet every victory was tempered by the looming threat of erasure. The gallery owner's subtle manipulations began to close pathways, erecting walls of skepticism and industry politics that endangered Liam's fragile progress. Bristling confusion clashed with resolve one rainy evening as Liam confronted a hesitant Confidantian art critic known for cynical detachment yet possessed of a secret reverence for genuine creativity. "Why this obsession?" the critic asked, voice low and deliberate. Liam fixed him with a gaze alight with stubborn hope. "Because some stories refuse to be silenced. Because this isn't just art, it's a legacy waiting to speak." The critic's eyes narrowed, questions and warnings veiled in shadows. "Legacy is a dangerous thing to excavate. Be sure you know what you're unearthing." Back in his studio, Liam stared at the ancient canvas once more, paw prints lining a path that now seemed more urgent, less cryptic. He reached out, fingertips trembling, drawing the pattern Anoich mark a step deeper into the town's enigmatic past, and into his own uncertain future. The storm outside crescendoed, rain pelting the attic window like a chorus of judgment or call. Thunder muttered distant threats, but inside Liam, the storm was a fierce blaze of determination. Suddenly, a whisper slipped out Max's low growl, a subtle shift in the air. Liam froze as a furtive shadow flickered beneath the gallery owner's door, a silent reminder that the battle for truth was far from over. Uncertainty shivered beneath the warm lamplight, and as Liam's eyes traced the paw prints once more, he murmured with fierce vulnerability, "I don't know what this will cost, but I can't turn back now." The night deepened, folding around the fragile beacon of hope, the attic awash in an ephemeral glow that promised both peril and possibility. The pattern lay before Hyman: invitation to uncover, to fight, to create meaning from mystery. The damp attic air pressed heavy, saturated with the scent of aged canvas and forgotten stories. Liam stood alone amid the shadows, fingers trembling as they hovered above the enigmatic paw prints sprawling across the old canvas. Every step into this murky past felt like walking on a fragile thread stretched taut, the weight of hidden truths bending him beneath their gravity. Max sat close by, his dog collar catching the faint glow of the attic's single bulb, a testament to steadfast loyalty even as the walls seemed to close in around them. The broken paintbrush on the floor, long since discarded, now seemed a relic not only of blocked creativity but of battles both lost and yet to come. Liam's breath caught as his eyes traced the sequence of paw prints anew, pattern shifting and folding in ways that whispered of codes long buried and lives entangled in silence. The scattered impressions were no mere accident. They were a silent cry, a message screaming beneath the layers of dust and neglect. But beneath the thrill of discovery lurked a creeping dread. The gallery owner's shadow hovered like a specter, sowing seeds of doubt among Liam's tentative supporters, whispering that the painting was a meaningless distraction, a folly risking reputation and legacy. Worse yet, the faint sting of betrayal lingered. Whispers of sabotage hinted at in stolen materials, altered contracts, and vanished opportunities. Liam's hands clenched, knuckles white, as he wrestled with the realization that the greatest enemy was not just the marketplace's cold gaze but the corrosive doubt seeded by those he once trusted. Yet within the fury, a relentless flame burned, a refusal to let dreams wilt quietly. In the quiet glow of the attic, a sudden scratch behind a loose wooden panel drew his attention. Heart-hammering, Liam pried it open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside lay a bundle of old letters, their edges brittle, ink faded but words still scorched with fiery urgency and regret. One letter, stamped with an emblem he didn't recognize, spoke of a secret alliance and a whispered pact concealed from the world. Reading the lines felt like stepping into a labyrinth stained with both hope and treachery. As the rain pattered gently against the lone window, the weight of the family's buried past pressed on his chest. Betrayal was not an echo but a living, breathing force, intricately woven into the fabric of the legacy he so desperately sought to reclaim. His voice broke the silence, raw and fractured. "Who can I trust when the truth itself lies buried in shadows?" Max shifted, resting his head on Liam's knee, a solid anchor amid the swirling storm of doubt and revelation. Together, man and dog lingered in the attic's dim glow, suspended between the devastation of fractured trust and the flicker of a new purpose blossoming in the dark. Suddenly, a forgotten melody hummed softly from a hidden radio in the corner, an old folk tune, haunting and familiar, threading through the silence like a lifeline to forgotten times. Amid the echoes of loss and the murmurs of hope, Liam felt the first stirrings of clarity rise within him. The paw prints were more than marks, they were keys. The forgotten canvas, a puzzle to be solved. And beyond the shadows of sabotage and conspiracy, a path forward beckoned, a path fraught with perils but alive with the promise of redemption. The camera lingered on Liam's face, a portrait carved by shadows and light, doubt and determination, and then shifted to Max's unwavering gaze, steady and sure. The attic, once a vault of silence and neglect, hummed quietly with the pulse of unfolding destiny. With one last, steady breath, Liam rose, resolve hardening beneath the swirl of dust and the fading light. The journey ahead was no longer just his own, it was a link in a chain of stories stretching backward through time, waiting to be unraveled. Beyond the attic window, The storm clouds parted just enough to let a single ray of sunlight strike bright, illuminating the paw prints, the broken brush, and the old canvas with a sudden, fierce gleam. Liam stepped toward the window, eyes fierce. "This is just the beginning," he whispered into the awakening day, the promise hanging heavy but undeniable. And so, in the fragile dawn breaking over the town, the sacred dance of hope and desperation, of betrayal and truth, took flight, carrying Liam forward into the heart of a mystery that would change everything. Outside, the sky unfolded like a slate-gray curtain, heavy with swollen clouds ready to burst. The persistent drizzle seeped through cracked windowpanes of Liam's attic studio, the small droplets streaking like teardrops down the glass. Inside, the dim light cast long shadows on canvases, some complete, many abandoned in a room that felt both sanctuary and prison. The atmosphere was thick, suffocating, saturated with the pungent scent of oil paint mingled with damp wood and dust. Liam sat alone in the corner, hunched over a worn canvas featuring those elusive paw prints. His eyes, once bright with curiosity and determination, now flickered erratically, flickers swallowed quickly by a deepening darkness. His fingers, stained with dried hues of blues and ochres, trembled ever so slightly as they hovered over brushes, frozen by an invisible weight. The whispers of doubt and rejection echoed mercilessly, fueled by the gallery owner's whispered campaign. Veiled barbs branded with insidious precision that threatened to erode Liam's fragile hold on hope. The owner's sly smile lingered in Liam's mind like a specter, a cruel reminder that every step toward discovery was painstakingly undermined. Max lay curled by Liam's feet, the dog collar around his neck a stark emblem of steadfast loyalty, a humble anchor amid a sea of unraveling dreams. The faithful dog's steady breathing mingled with the muffled patter of rain, a rhythmic reminder of enduring devotion when everything else began to fray. Liam's breath became shallow, the room feeling as though it were collapsing inward. The broken paintbrush beside him was more than disregarded wood. It was a symbol of creative blockage, a testament to stalled dreams and stilled ambitions. The broken tool lay silent beneath a sliver of moonlight, casting a fragmentary glow on the convoluted emotions twisting inside him. Outside, the night pressed closer, a velvet shroud that seemed to consume colors and sounds in equal measure. Inside, Liam's isolation grew profound. He was swallowed whole by questions that had no answers, spiraling into ruminations about worth, identity, and the very nature of his art. His voice, when it escaped, was a fragile whisper, barely heard over the rain. "What am I without this?" The silence thickened, pressing against the walls and creeping through the cracks under the door, wrapping his world in palpable emptiness. The attic, once a sacred space of creativity, now felt like a tomb of forsaken potentials. Liam's gaze fell once more upon the old canvas-worn surface etched with mysterious paw prints, a cryptic map to truths he longed to uncover but that now seemed impossibly distant. The painting's colors bled faintly in the fading light, edges frayed as if mirroring his own unraveling spirit. Slowly, nearly imperceptibly, Liam reached out, tracing the paw prints with a trembling finger, as if holding onto a thread too fragile to bear the weight of despair but too precious to lose. As the rain intensified outside, the room felt colder, the shadows deeper. The storm in Liam's mind echoed the one raging beyond the window, relentless and fracturing. And in that quiet desolation broken by the whispering of wind and the soft scrape of paw against wood, Liam sat, suspended on the precipice of surrender, the fragile tether of hope slipping further with each passing moment, swallowed slowly by the encroaching night. The night had settled deep and vast over the town, swallowing the fragile lights of the art district one by one. Inside his studio, Liam sat motionless, the cold from the cracked window seeping into his bones like a creeping frost. The room, once a haven of color and possibility, had become a tomb of shadows and silence. The faint amber glow of a dying lamp painted the edges of his weary face, casting a somber light over walls cluttered with unfinished canvases and splatters of dried paint. Max lay curled at his feet, the familiar weight of his loyal presence a rare comfort in the suffocating gloom. The dog collar gleamed faintly under the light, a symbol of unyielding fidelity amid a world fracturing around them. Liam's eyes, usually so full of restless creativity, were now hollow, reflecting the deep well of despair that threatened to consume him. A cracked paintbrush lay discarded on the table, its broken tip mirroring the frayed edges of Liam's spirit. He reached out with a trembling hand, touching the worn wood, as if seeking to piece together what had been shattered within him. The silence in the room was vast and pressing, broken only by the soft drip of water from a leaky pipe and the occasional skittering of a rat somewhere beyond the walls. Outside, the fog thickened, swirling like specters across the deserted streets, muffling the sounds of night into a distant, haunting lullaby. The cold air pressed against the studio's windowsill, where an old canvas rested, dust settling on its cracked surface, a forgotten dream buried beneath layers of neglect and doubt. Liam's breath fogged the glass as he stared blankly into the murky outdoors, each breath a whispered surrender. His voice, when it came, was barely audible, a fragile thread in the vast silence. "Is this the end?" Words hung unanswered in the oppressive stillness, swallowed quickly by the cavernous night. The weight of rejection, betrayal, and self-doubt bore down like a suffocating shroud, draining the color from the world and the light from his eyes. His gaze drifted back to Max, who lifted his head slowly, eyes shining with unwavering devotion, a silent nudge, a reminder that loyalty could endure even the darkest despair. But for Liam, the path forward seemed to vanish beneath the encroaching shadows. The room contracted around him, walls creeping closer, voices of doubt echoing inside his mind. Time itself seemed fractured, as broken as the watches that lay scattered on the dusty floor, their hands frozen in moments lost forever. The frayed photo of forgotten dreams fluttered on the windowsill, a ghost of possibility fading into the growing dusk. A gust of wind rattled the window, its chill slicing through the air, carrying with it the faintest echo of distant footsteps, ghostly reminders of a world that had moved on without him. Liam's hands fell slack in his lap, his body sagged beneath the burden of hopelessness. The silence was complete, punctuated only by the slow, deliberate beat of a heart teetering on the brink. The camera lingered on the broken paintbrush once more, the fractured wood illuminated by the flickering lamp, its jagged edges a mirror to Liam's fractured soul. And in the stillness, heavy, endless, absolute, the room held its breath. The descent into despair was total, the edges of hope dissolving into the encroaching dark. The studio lay drowned in silence, shadows thickening in the corners like whispered regrets. Liam sat slumped on the floor, the frayed dog collar beside Himmox's silent emblem of unwavering loyalty resting forgotten under the dull light. Outside, the wind sighed mournfully, rattling the loose window panes, carrying with it distant echoes of confused streets and forgotten alleys steeped in twilight's melancholy. His eyes, glassy and haunted, traced the outlines of the old canvas partially concealed beneath a threadbare tarp. The paw prints, those ghostly marks, had long stopped speaking as a language, becoming instead a painful symbol of doors closed and dreams deferred. Each smudge, each blurred imprint, mirrored the fractured story of his own unraveling. Liam's breath was shallow, a quiet convulsion against the oppressive weight of hopelessness. The broken paintbrush lay beside him, a shattered relic of his creativity's demise, its jagged edges echoing the jagged fractures in his once burning passion. The solitude that enveloped him was absolute. Even Max, sensing the depth of his despair, remained close but unintrusive, his steady presence a soft barrier against total collapse. The dog's rhythmic breathing was the only thread of life echoing in the vast emptiness. A faint creak stirred Liam's attention, the subtle sliding of paint cans nudging one another, reminders of a world continuing beyond his retreat. He closed his eyes briefly, images flooding back the gallery owner's cold eyes, the whispered undermining of his efforts, the unseen sabotages steadily pushing him toward oblivion. Yet, just beyond the suffocating darkness, a subtle warmth flickered. A memory surfaced, a moment when Max had pawed eagerly at the forgotten canvas, uncovering it as though urging Liam to see beyond despair. That image settled deep in Liam's chest like a fragile heartbeat against the cold. Slowly, unwilling but compelled, Liam reached out, brushing the dust from the old canvas's surface until the patterns, almost invisible beneath years of neglect, shimmered faintly beneath his fingertips. The paw prints, long abandoned as mere stains, shimmered like keys to a locked door. A whispered promise, barely audible, sifted through the stillness, possibility. His gaze lifted to the corner of the room where the broken paintbrush rested, symbol of both defeat and unrealized potential. Pain and hope collided as he slowly wrapped his fingers around the fractured wood, turning it gently as if learning to cherish its imperfections. The studio's fading light clung tenuously to his form, casting a long silhouette against cracked floorboards and peeling wallpaper, a figure caught between despair and the first flicker of renewed purpose. "Not yet," he whispered, voice fragile but unwavering. Outside, the wind settled, the night exhaling in quiet assent. The distant town lights twinkled faintly, undiminished by shadows, a mosaic of lives intertwined with secrets waiting to be unraveled. The camera held on Liam's eyes reflective pools glistening with unshed tears and nascent resolve, a silent oath kindling beneath the layers of fatigue and doubt. As the scene faded to black, the faintest trace of paw print glowed softly on the canvas, a beacon in the darkness, guiding Liam toward a dawn yet to break. Dawn's first light seeped through the cracked windows of the town's old community hall, casting a gentle, amber glow that softened the rough edges of the worn brick walls. Inside, Liam stood amidst a scattered array of canvases and sketches, the air heavy with dust and the scent of slowly awakening hope. The church bells echoed faintly in the distance, a distant reminder that time moved forward, even here, amid the ruins of doubt. He hesitated, hand hovering over a weathered canvas, a piece once dismissed and left to rot in obscurity. Now, the faint outline of paw prints, faint but precise, emerged like whispers in the gloom, shimmering with a tentative promise. The patterns weren't just marks. They were keys, waiting for someone brave enough to listen. The shadows in the room lingered, thick and silent, and darkness seemed to cling to every corner. Liam's eyes, normally filled with restless longing, were muzzled by a cautious flicker, half hope, half dread. Max sat quietly nearby, the dog collar around his neck catching the low light, an unspoken emblem of loyalty that Liam suddenly felt newly sworn to. In the quiet, Liam traced the faint paw prints with a trembling finger, feeling the cold surface of the old canvas beneath his touch. This was his awakening, the moment when the fragments of old passion, buried beneath layers of rejection and failure, began to glimmer with renewed potential. A gust of wind rattled the old windowpane, causing a faint shiver to pass through the room. The fog outside rolled like a thick curtain, cloaking the town in hours still undecided. But inside, between dust motes and peeling paint, a fragile spark ignited an ember of conviction against the winds of doubt. He drew a deep breath, the cold air filling his lungs like liquid resolve. The paw prints, once symbols of an unsolved mystery, now became a signal, beckoning him toward a path of rebellion against betrayal. Before he knew it, his fingers grasped a dilapidated paintbrush, the tool of countless dreams, and held it anew, the broken bristle a testament to resilience. The weathered brush felt heavy but promising as Liam turned to face the world beyond the window. The dawn's gentle glow illuminated the horizon, hinting at a new beginning. The shadows retreated as the room basked in a soft, golden light, the colors of hope slowly bleeding into the canvas of his mind. In that silent, sacred space, Liam recognized the truth: his creative spirit was not lost but merely dormant, waiting for the right moment to burst forth. The heavy weight of despair loosened just enough for him to take the first tentative step, an act of courage that whispered of rebirth. Slowly, he stepped forward, the pave of old wood creaking softly under his weight, as if echoing the fragile, yet unwavering resolve within. The painting, with its mysterious paw prints, seemed to pulse with quiet vitality, whispering to him to listen. The scene lingered, Liam bathed in dawn's early grace, Max loyal as ever, both standing on the brink of a journey that was only just beginning. The shadows still lurked, but now they carried the faint promise of light, an emblem of hope rising from the depths of despair. The gallery's heart pounded with the muted thud of Liam's footsteps as he crossed the threshold into the main hall. The cold, sterile light of the overhead fixtures contrasted sharply with the vibrant, raw energy of the piece he carried, a large canvas wrapped delicately in well-worn cloth, bearing the faint, unmistakable paw print pattern. It was the culmination of nights sleepless and days spent unraveling the town's layered history, infused with renewed hope and quiet defiance. The murmurs behind the polished glass grew louder as Liam approached the supporting crowd, a mixture of skeptical patrons, cautious allies, and wary critics. His grip tightened around the canvas. Every nerve within him thrummed with a strange, electric anticipation. He aimed to confront not only the gallery owner's cynicism but also himself, delivering a message that reverberated deeper than any critic's critique ever could. "This isn't just paint and shapes," Liam's voice sliced through the murmurs, steady and clear. "It's a story. Our story. Hidden for years, buried beneath false facades and silence, waiting for someone brave enough to decipher what's been left behind." A hush fell. Eyes widened in shock or curiosity. The gallery owner stepped forward, his facade carefully controlled but his eyes betraying a flicker of doubt. Liam's hands trembled slightly, yet he pushed through, unveiling the canvas with a slow, deliberate gesture that invited silence and reflection. The crowd's gaze fixed on the paw-printed revelation, suddenly imbued with significance. The patterns once dismissed as mere accidental marks fused into a complex pattern that traced back to an unsolved local mystery, long thought to be a ghost story. With conviction born from months of excavation and discovery, Liam explained, "This mystery shaped our town's past, haunted us with secrets we dared not face. Now, it's the key to our salvation, an artistic and cultural inheritance intertwined with our very identity." The gallery owner's expression hardened, a veneer of cynicism slipping as he realized the depths of Liam's newfound confidence. A tense silence stretched as Liam met his gaze, unflinching. Every discarded doubt, every moment of rejection, fueled his unwavering resolve. Behind Liam's eyes, an awakening flickered, a profound understanding that his passion, once buried beneath layers of rejection and doubt, was now a spark ready to ignite a new legacy. The gallery, once an adversary, now seemed to tremble before this seismic shift, a silent witness to the rebirth of purpose. Max sat beside Liam, the dog's collar a muted but persistent reminder. Loyalty does not waver in the face of adversity. Liam unwrapped the canvas fully, exposing the raw, vibrant tapestry, a testament to resilience and hidden truths. The crowd's murmur grew into whispers of admiration and awe. The gallery owner, struck silent, looked away as Liam's voice softened into a determined whisper. "The truth is not lost. It's waiting just beneath the surface, waiting for the right eyes to see it." A collective breath was held before an overwhelming wave of applause erupted, a chorus celebrating not just art but the soul of a community rediscovering its voice. Liam's chest swelled with a quiet, triumphant joy, echoes of yesterday's despair transforming into silent defiance, whispering of a future reclaimed. In that moment, amid the rising applause and shimmering lights, Liam felt a profound shift, and awakening that rebirth was within reach, forged by courage, honesty, and the unbreakable bonds of loyalty and identity. The canvas, now unveiled, stood as a monument to truth, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of art and community, a testament to the power of perseverance amid darkness. The gallery's air shifted in the hush that followed Liam's powerful unveiling. A collective breath caught, the tension on display dissolving into silence, broken only by the faint, rhythmic pulse of applause that slowly grew into a tide of recognition. Liam, standing beside the massive canvas, felt his heart swelling with an almost unthinkable clarity, the moment where his struggle ignited hope, and defiance transformed into strength. He looked out at the crowd, his eyes luminous with newfound conviction. Every notch of rejection, every moment of self-doubt, had led to Theson's act of rebellion, of affirmation that true art would always find its voice, even in the darkness of skepticism. The paw print pattern, once dismissed as mere coincidence, now shone beneath the gallery lights as a testament to perseverance and hidden truths. The gallery owner's dismissive gaze hardened, yet the silence in Liam's stance was unshakable. He took a slow step forward, voice steady and filled with purpose. This painting is more than just an image. It's a bridge and archive of our history, a message from the past that demands to be heard. And I won't let it be silenced anymore. A murmur rippled through the crowd as Liam's words seeped into the fabric of the moment. The pattern, the iconic paw print shod, woven itself into the collective consciousness, a symbol not only of an old mystery but of the resilience that bound the community together. The gallery owner's face darkened, but Liam's gaze held steady, unyielding. Behind him, the canvas seemed to shimmer with an inner light, like dawn breaking over a long, shadowed night. The inevitable shift was complete. Truth had reclaimed its voice. Max, perched loyally beside Liam, looked up with eyes filled with pretty and unspoken bond cemented in the furnace of struggle. The dog's collar, a simple silver band, caught the shimmer of the gallery's illumination, a testament to loyalty unbroken even in the face of betrayal. Liam's heart hammered with the rush of clarity, his purpose no longer blurred by doubts or cynicism. He had crossed the threshold, his face carved with the quiet strength of a man reborn. Every step he took was a declaration. His voice mattered, his passion was valid, and his fight was just. He paused, breathing in the warm glow of recognition, then turned slowly to face the crowd, every muscle taut with resolve. The shadows of the past bowed before the rising dawn of his awakening. The camera lingered on his expression, a mosaic of vulnerability and power, before slowly pulling back to reveal the gallery's walls infused with light, soft and radiant. Beneath the glow, Liam and Max stood as symbols of hope's resilience. The moment was fragile but unbreakable, a luminous pinnacle of transformation that promised a future where truth and passion would always find their rightful place. As the day broke over the quiet town, a soft glow blanketed the landscape, casting the skies in shades of gold and rose. Liam stood alone on the estate's gentle hill, the air infused with the scent of blooming wildflowers and fresh dawn. His silhouette was calm, almost serenely still, as he gazed across the sprawling grounds that had once been a place of secrets and shadows. Now, they shimmered with a fragile hope, reborn from the ashes of doubt. In his hand, he gently held the old, faded letter, the final thread that connected him to his father, to the truth buried beneath layers of silence. The paper was delicate, yet its message was timeless: love, regret, forgiveness. Liam's eyes welled with quiet emotion, the landscape before him a mirror to his inner journey, a terrain scarred but resilient, haunted but hopeful. The wind coolly brushed his hair, carrying whispers of the past, of the hidden stories that once threatened to drown him. His gaze lingered on the horizon as the golden light spread and deepened, a quiet promise of renewal. In the gentle glow, Liam saw not just the sprawling estate, but the reflection of his own rebirth, the realization that even the most fractured dreams could find new life. A peaceful smile touched his lips, tentative yet genuine. The shadows of failure and betrayal had receded, replaced by a tender acceptance, a recognition that he had been part of something larger all along. With a slow, deliberate breath, he finally set the letter down, pressing it against his heart in a silent vow to cherish the truth, to forgive, and to embrace the unknown future. Max sat patiently nearby, the dog collar around his neck catching the first light, a gleaming emblem of loyalty unbroken by the storm. The two stood together in harmony, their silhouettes merging with the awakening landscape, symbols of enduring bonds and the unyielding spirit of hope. The camera pulled back gently, capturing the tranquil scene, the estate bathed in the soft glow of dawn, the vast sky unfolding like a canvas of possibility. Liam and Max, amidst the lush greenery, appeared serene and, for the first time, at peace with his place in the world. In that quiet moment, a single bird soared across the sky, its wings catching the warm rays, a silent herald of new beginnings. The scene lingered, a timeless tableau of healing, truth, and the gentle power of acceptance, the soul finally at rest, the journey towards rebirth complete. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and lavender, Liam and Max stood in the lush garden of the estate, the gentle breeze whispering through the leaves. The heavy shadows of doubt and regret had given way to a serene, almost sacred silence. Liam held the old, ink-stained letter from his father close to his heart, feeling the weight of past pain and present clarity intertwining. In this quiet moment, the world outside seemed to slow, granting space and time for a profound shift. A peaceful acceptance washed over him like a tide. The scars of betrayal and failure had faded into the soft glow of understanding. The past, with its secrets and shadows, was no longer a weight but a tapestry of lessons woven with love and loss. His gaze drifted across the sprawling garden, now alive and breathing in the warmth of dusk's embrace. The haunting paw prints in the old painting, once symbols of a distant mystery, had become a beacon of perseverance and truth. Liam's fingers traced the contours of the letter, each word a silent prayer of forgiveness himself and others, finally understood. Max sat at Liam's feet, the dog's collar catching a final glint of the sunset's light, a tangible emblem of loyalty and trust. Liam looked into Max's eyes, seeing in them the quiet certainty that loyalty endured beyond betrayal, beyond doubt. He allowed a deep breath to settle within, a breath that carried away the last remnants of despair. The wounds of the past had found their balm. Acceptance had cracked the foundation of pain and built a new refuge, a sanctuary of hope. With measured steps, Liam moved toward the edge of the garden, feeling the soft grass beneath his feet. Every step was a gentle renewal, a deliberate act of surrender to the peace he'd fought so hard to reclaim. The evening sky above unfurled in a vast, timeless palette, a silent testament that even amidst darkness, there was always the promise of dawn. The camera lingered on Liam's serene face as he gazed into the horizon, the warm glow of twilight illuminating his features. Eyes softened, face free of the mask of doubt. The house behind him, once a battleground of secrets, now stood quietly in the background, bathed in gentle light. In that moment of stillness, the vastness of the sky became a mirror of his soul, boundless, calm, and at peace. The world's noise faded into a gentle hum, replaced by the subtle harmony of acceptance and love. Liam's story, long fought and hard-won, had reached its poignant, poetic crescendo. He and Max stood in perfect harmony, united in the quiet serenity of a new beginning, an ending that was also a beginning, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of truth. The sky stretched wide and clear above the estate as dawn's gentle light dissolved the last shadows. Liam and Max stood silently in the lush garden, the morning air crisp and filled with a scent of new beginnings, dew on grass and blooming flowers whispering of hope reborn. Liam's breath was slow, sincere, as he gazed at the horizon, where soft golden rays bathed the land in warmth, dissolving the ache of past failures. In his hands, he cradled the old letter from his father, a fragile relic now transformed from burden into a testament. Its words, once soaked in regret, now shimmered with forgiveness and love. Liam's eyes shimmered with a new clarity, a quiet dawn of understanding settling deep inside him. The heavy weight of betrayal, loss, and self-doubt had begun to lift, replaced by a sense of peace that rooted him firmly on this sacred ground. The broken paintbrush, symbol of creative blockage, was now lying abandoned on a stone bench, its jagged edges catching the soft light, reminders of broken dreams reassembled into a fragile mosaic of resilience. The old canvas, once an emblem of forgotten aspirations, stood upright in a bed of wildflowers, a silent witness to the transformation that had taken place. Liam slowly walked to the edge of the garden, each step deliberate, the earth beneath him a testament to patience and growth. Max followed closely, collar shimmering in the radiant sunrise, on unspoken badge of unwavering loyalty. Liam paused, lifting his gaze upward, the dawn illuminating his face with a warmth that felt like forgiving himself, forgiving the past. He looked around at the sprawling canvas of life, the intertwined roots and blossoms, every element now a symbol of hope and renewal. The shadows of yesterday dissolved into a gentle glow, emboldened by the realization that truth and love had carved a sacred space within. The land, scarred yet resilient, mirrored his own journey, flowing with stories, wounds healed, and passions restored. A solitary bird soared across the vast sky, its wings catching the early light, a silent herald of peace and perseverance. The scene lingered, capturing a moment suspended between endings and beginnings, where silence was layered with the weight of reconciliation and the promise of a future rooted in truth. In this tranquil tableau, Liam and Max stood together, the estate's silent testament to enduring loyalty and the courage to embrace one's true worth. The camera slowly pulled back, the landscape expanding into a sweeping panoramic of dawn's glow, an eternal symbol of hope, renewal, and the quiet, enduring power of the human spirit to transcend darkness and find peace in the light. Has your pet ever stumbled upon a secret? Share your story in the comments.